Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Louis Carlin. We're right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North, Instagram at Alliance PW Network, and feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Excuse me, I'm a little stuffed up today, so I might sound a little different. I do apologize. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Charles Brody and Billy. Thank you so much for purchasing a super thanks comment. Really appreciate it. If you want to support the podcast, please consider purchasing a super thanks comment as well. All money goes towards the podcast, and I think it starts like at $2. And on every podcast, you'll see a little thanks icon underneath. To click on that icon, and you'll see how much the denominations of what you can contribute. This, I think it starts at $2, depending on what region you're living in or what country you're living in. Starts about two. So if you're considering, if you like to support if you like the content, you want to support the podcast, please consider purchasing a super thanks. Charles Brody, Billy, thank you so much for purchasing a super thanks comment. And with the super thanks comment, you get a fun animation that'll be on the video of the super thanks that you purchased, and you get a special colorful comment as well. Okay, so let's get into it. This seems to be a common theme now in AEW. Two AEW stars are apparently frustrated with their booking. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, known as the Varsity Blondes, and this is coming from Wrestling Inc., are the latest AWA wrestlers to express frustration with their creative direction. During the 8/17 episode of AEW Dynamite, the Varsity Blondes were squashed by the Gun Club in a match that lasted 31 seconds. The match ended so quickly that Pillman Jr. was never allowed to tag in, as Colton Gunn jumped Pillman Jr. in the corner before hitting a Colt 45 on Garrison for the pinfall victory. Immediately after the match, Garrison wrote frustrated on Twitter. Shortly thereafter, Pillman began retweeting a bunch of fan posts criticizing AEW's handling of the Varsity Blondes. The squash match seemed to be um, AEW's way of setting up a betrayal angle that followed. Billy Gunn came out to the ring to congratulate his sons. At that point, Stokely Hathaway appeared at the top of the ramp, and Austin and Colton began attacking their own father. One fan wrote, "Great to see the roster that carried AEW through the pandemic era get treated like this. Awesome, love it. Varsity hashtag Varsity Blondes. Flying Brian Jr. Griff Garrison deserve better." Another fan pointed out how Pillman Jr. don't even get tagged into the match. One fan suggested Pillman Jr. should join Chris Jericho's Jericho Appreciation Society stable to resurrect his wrestling career. This is what I'm thinking. I think there would be a pretty decent tag team in Impact Wrestling. I mean, Impact Wrestling, they would thrive in Impact Wrestling. We're gonna need some more tag teams with the Good Brothers most likely leaving, the Briscoes of course gone. So we're gonna need some more tag teams. So I don't know what their contract situation is, but if they're unhappy, and rightfully so, because well, I'll get into that in a second. But if they're unhappy and rightfully so, maybe think about making a change. If the contract is coming up, head on over Impact Wrestling, Varsity Blondes. Go over to Impact Wrestling and challenge for the Impact Wrestling World Title, the World Tag Team titles. I think that would be something decent. But this is was bound to happen. More and more AEW stars are getting frustrated with their bookings because Tony Khan, he's just signing everybody left and right, bringing new guys in. You only have so much room for so many guys on a 2 hour show, on two-hour shows. And I know he's at Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor doesn't have a TV show right now. I mean, with Ring of Honor, you had Claudio Cascanoli defending against the Ring of Honor World Title against Dustin Rhodes. That's not a Ring of Honor match. It's an AEW match. But anyway, I don't. I this is, like I said, it's a common theme right now. AEW stars are frustrated with their bookings. And this is just two more examples. Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison not happy with their creative direction. And again, I think there would be a great tag team in Impact Wrestling. I think they could have some really good matches in there. And again, I don't know what the contract situation is, but if the contract is coming due, maybe they want to consider making the jump to Impact Wrestling because Impact Wrestling will use them properly. There's plenty of room in Impact Wrestling for the Varsity Blondes. And one more quick thing, we have an update on MJF. MJF is reportedly returning to AEW soon. This is from Wrestling Headlines. MJF is reportedly set to return to action for AEW soon. There's no word yet exactly when MJF will be back, but a new report from Wrestling Observer notes that he is scheduled to be returning somewhat soon. It was noted that the negotiations for a new AEW TV deal will likely begin in a few months and go into the spring. So the recent drop in AEW ratings is happening at the worst time. AEW is now expected to have MJF, Adam Cole, and the Hardys back in action for the fall and winter to help fight the drop in ratings. So MJF will be making his return to AEW very, very soon, as per Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to be doing my Impact Wrestling review of the last show, which happened yesterday. Probably get that out later today or maybe tomorrow morning. I just have to watch the show again and take notes, but I'll get my review on that. But that's it. And until I'm back, I'm watching the news. Take care. Bye bye. And stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye bye.